Hello, everybody. Welcome to this new conversation, interview, exploration to the mystery with my good friend Andreea Cristina Chis. I'm not sure I pronounced that correctly. No, sorry about that. She's an amazing woman, explorer, teacher, healer, all different stuff. And I'm so excited to have her here. So, hello, Andrea. Nice to have you here.
Hello, Samo. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for the kind words. Likewise, likewise. I deeply appreciate you and your presence.
Thank you. So there's many places we could start, but I want to start with Greece. You recently organized a series of workshops in Greece, and you went to all those ancient temples and were in those beautiful energies. So if you want to share a little bit, whatever you feel like sharing from that journey or exploration, because I'm super excited in knowing about it.
Yes, indeed. So I recently led a retreat there. So it was not a series of workshops, or yes, more days of workshops in a row with the same group of women. So this was a women-only retreat that took place in Greece in the ancient location and ancient site of Delphi, which is known to be one of the biggest oracles from ancient times.
Wow, that's amazing, Sel. Could you tell us a little bit more about like Greece or Greek gods or the energies that were there or whatever is like important for you there?
Well, this is big. It's a very
Yeah.
broad subject. So let's see what would be the most important to share at this time. So I think, yeah, I would just go with the fact that all these ancient places and sites, they hold the memory of all the ancient ceremonies that were there. So they become a very powerful and potent place and location on the earth. And for me personally, I did explore that in other conversations with you or with other people. For me, it feels like these are like ancient libraries where you can just go and tune in to the divine, and just like, like as you go into this Harry Potter like library and
Mm.
you twist and turn a magic book and here it's your answer to your prayer. So therefore, I think they have to be treated in this manner. And probably I won't talk enough my whole life, like just saying all these things, because some of these places are so well known that tourists come to visit them, but not so many of the tourists are aware of the energetic or spiritual imprint that they hold. So unconsciously, they would just pass by and take it as tourist objectives, like a new place to
Mhm.
visit or to have on your to-do list. Um,
Mm.
yeah, so I think that's very, very sad when it comes to ancient sites, and they are worthy of disrespect, not disrespect.
Yes. So we've all like in the school we're taught about the Greek gods and the myths and archetypes, but there's like more ancient things there. Could you speak a little bit more about like the unknown things that are not so well known that you've maybe experienced there? If you may, of course, if it's okay.
This is a very mystical question, Samo.
Well, it's a mystical conversation.
Yes, it's a mystical conversation. Yeah, yeah, of course. Like, I'm not going to go into classification of gods or, because they also have like different timelines when they change, and you have the main gods and then they expand or they change for a bit. That's a theoretical approach. Is important for us to know it, obviously. What I would recommend is for us to go into that direct connection with God, Almighty Creator of all things, that manifests in her glory and expansion in so many unique ways. And of course, you have all these gods like like Delphi became the oracle for Apollo, which is the sun god, right? And you have Athena, which is the goddess of wisdom, and so on and so forward. If you go up north, you will find the temple of Zeus and Mother Earth. So there are all kinds of figures, of images of the divine, but I would keep it to the layer beyond that, which is the manifestation of everything that exists in certain aspects, in certain ways. So basically, like the different facets of the divinity manifesting and coming through. What I find very, very interesting is the similarity with other traditions. Like, for example, for everyone that goes to Delphi and visits the archaeological museum, it's a big fresco there. I don't know how you call it, like it's a bas relief where
Mm-hmm.
you have a story. It's
Mm-hmm.
basically the story of the gods fighting the titans, right?
Mm.
Which
Yeah.
I find it really interesting because we hear about those stories in the Norse tradition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the gods are fighting the
The
giants,
giants.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite interesting. Also, like for everyone that has time to explore, um, further towards northwest of Greece, there is this temple of Zeus and Mother Earth of Dion. There are different temples there in the same place, right? And what I found really interesting was the fact that it was written there that until I don't know what it might be 500 year Anno Domini, that Zeus didn't actually had a temple. People used
Mm.
to come and meet and worship him in an oak tree.
Mm.
So in the center of this temple was this huge oak tree where they would come to get in contact with the divine, right?
Mm.
They had all these kind of priests and priestesses there that will interpret how the wind is blowing in the oak leaves, and that would be your and the answer to your question. Or they
Mm.
would listen to the water, how the water is flowing, or they'll have or they would watch the birds how they fly in order to give you the answer. But what
Mm.
struck me is the similarity, right? So they didn't had any actual temple for Zeus until later in the time, right? Which if we look in the Nordic traditions and, you know, before Christianity came, um, the mighty tree was so important to
Mm.
for the community, right? For that
Mm.
contact and that connection with the divinity, which didn't required a separate temple,
Mm.
but
Yes.
nature was the temple, right?
Yes.
And the same we have here. I don't know if you
It's the
have
same
that
in
here.
Slavic tradition. Like in our country, linden tree, lipa, is like the sacred tree. Even today, when people don't know, it's like still everywhere. So we have the same tradition, and the same was like in pre-Slavic ancient traditions. There were also like no temples. It was just like nature. Like the old believers had the same thing. So it's interesting to see that.
Yeah. That's super interesting. We also have in our tradition, like we know that the ancestors used to leave messages in the water and listen to the sounds of water to receive the messages, right? So
Mm.
it's a way different approach back to the earth, back to nature, back
Mm.
to the essence.
Yeah, it sounds like reading the book of nature. That's like one way of putting it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that there's some connections between Greece and Romania. Since you're from Romania and you've been in Greece, could you tell us a little bit about more that?
Oh, yeah. Hmm. let me see how I can best approach this. They are like, I was talking with a friend of mine. She's also Romanian, but she's living in Greece for a long time already.
Mm.
And we were both contemplating the similarities, you know, even to the words. Like there are different words in Greece that for us they sound like archaic words that we have in our vocabulary. So quite interesting, even though it's a different language, right? On one side. On another side, yeah, we were exchanging a couple of words before we started. So I was mentioning a different kind of similarity, which is more spiritual or energy wise,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And for some reason in the past, I don't even know how many years already, I've been tracking, or it's not the right word. I'm just like playing Indiana Jones every
Mm.
now and then.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's the same aspect that meets me, you know, it's just like I'm
Mm.
here too, and I'm here too. And it's more connected to the divine feminine principle of
Mm.
creation, right?
Mm.
And particularly, I observed this similarity in Greece, in Romania, even in south of France. And I don't know um, if you heard about them, but the legend talks about these women that they do embody like oracle nature, right?
Mhm.
So they make predictions, divinations, and in history they are mentioned as Cibele, Sibylle.
Mm.
Have you heard about the Sibyllas?
Yeah, I heard about it, but I want to know
Mhm.
more because I don't really know much. They're like, even in books, there's not much written. It's like really mysterious thing.
Yeah, it's a really mysterious thing, but you know what's very interesting? They are even mentioned in the Bible, in the Orthodox
Wow.
Bible. They are mentioned. I don't know of other places in the Bible, you know, where they give back that to the feminine. Now, I don't want to
Mm.
offend anyone. I'm not against anything or for something, you know,
Mhm.
from my knowledge, except, you know, the big figures, images of Mother Mary, or I don't, I don't know of something like that. You know, there might be there in the Bible. They just didn't came to my attention yet. This is the disclaimer. Now,
Mhm.
coming back to it, so basically, they in all these traditions they are described as priestesses in serving the big mother, the mother of all creation, right?
Mm.
And if you look for them, you will see them in different areas, not only in Greece, Romania, and France. These are the places where I've been, you know, like playing Indiana Jones and finding some traces
Mm.
um, of informations for all this web of creation that most probably is all over the
Mhm.
place, right? So in Greece, you have one of the stones in the temple in Delphi is called the Sibylla uh,
Mhm.
stone, and was the place where this oracle used to do to give her answers to the world. Now, the connection with Romania is that in a very in the heart of Romania, in rural Romania, um, we have this really interesting formation of um, I don't even know how to call them. They are like places where monks used to go and meditate. And the legend talks about two shepherds that had a dream. And in the dream, um, the divine feminine, in this case, or how the legend says, Mother Mary, appeared to them
Mhm.
in the dream and showed them that they need to build that they will find her inside of the mountain, and they start to look for it and build actually a small church in her name, right? Because they start digging inside the mountain. Now, and in the altar, so just for the record, this is a real church in Romania
Mhm.
that is digged inside of the mountain.
Mhm.
And in the altar, they found this small statue of the divine feminine with two images, two shapes of animals on both sides, which could be either two lions or two wolves, or there are two animals on the side, right? And that brings back to the cult of the Cibele, Sibile, and that's the
Mhm.
same imprint as you go forward towards south of
Mhm.
France, right? Because basically they come back to these priestesses that they used to serve the divinity, the divine feminine, the great mother of all things in different ways, right? Does it make sense? Sorry, I was just.
Totally, absolutely. Makes it funny because the funny in Slovenia, it's the same thing. Like all the stories is like Mother Mary appeared to the shepherds and then they build a church. And we have churches on every hill in Slovenia. There's a church. Like if there's nothing, there's a church. And in every story, it's funny. It's always Mother Mary. Rarely, I'm not generalizing, but never Jesus. Like Mother Mary comes, like build me a church. So like the goddess is
Mhm,
everywhere.
mhm.
So like
Yeah.
despite all the history, like and it's funny because Slovenia, like it's a very young country, but in 1991 there was a consecration of Slovenia to Mother Mary. So our entire
Mm.
state, our country is dedicated to the goddess in a
Oh, wow.
roundabout way, you know. So it's like funny, like despite all the things that happened, like she's still there. So it's super
Mhm,
amazing.
mhm.
It's probably connected with the Templars and the whole other story, but that's a different discussion, you know. So it's super interesting to hear that.
Yeah, indeed it is. And if you look for these places now, from experience, from playing Indiana Jones on the field of consciousness, outside in
Mm,
nature, what I discovered is that, and not only me, probably in all the books this will be written, um, many of these churches were built on top of ancient temples, right?
mm,
Like, for example, in some of the old churches, you would still find the water.
mm,
And that's interesting because it's the same water that was like 2000, 3000 years ago, right? So you have ways to connect and explore that ancient library of
mm,
Mother Earth that is just waiting to be revealed, and for her mysteries to be understood, not necessarily in a mental perspective, but
mm.
going deeper inside of us where we can connect to that field of consciousness.
Yeah, I really, really love that. It's funny because I was in Ireland recently, and in the north of Ireland, there's a shrine to Bridget. Bridget's an ancient Celtic Irish goddess, and then there's Saint Bridget, and there's like two versions, and there's some conflict around it. But this time I was like, no, it's the same thing. Like the energy doesn't care about the form. It's a human
Mhm.
thing to start arguing and making it into conflict. And like years ago, I'd be like, oh yeah, blah blah. But it's like, no, it's the same thing. So like the feminine, the real, like I'm saying, can't even use a word for it, but that force doesn't mind the changes in the world. Civilizations fall, war starts, you know, like that's irrelevant because it's coming from a space that's so ancient and so deep that all this human game is just drama. And they're like, sure, I'll wait for a few thousand or eons until you people do your thing. I'm kind of joking, but I'm not joking, you know? So isn't
Mhm.
that interesting?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it's quite interesting. But again, it depends to us what we resonate with. How deep do we
Mm,
want to go into this exploration, and how strongly does it pull us in? How strongly does it calls us? Because if we look at the divine feminine, I think there always comes with a calling. It's not
mm,
like, but it's always both ways. I mean, you cannot have that inside of yourself, the desire to know deeper the mysteries of the divine feminine, or to explore the ancient teachings, if it will not call you back. It's like the law of reciprocity in the universe, like attracts like.
Yeah, I love that because you can't really mentally. You can study and get books, but that's not how you get to the real juice of it. It's beyond that. It calls you, and you kind of follow it and explore it. So it's like it's actually revealing itself. You're not gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure it out. That's not how it works in my experience. So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, it is. It is interesting. I mean, the books do help to have an idea of certain things, but again, is unapplied knowledge, unapplied knowledge is just that. It would just stay somewhere up there. It will not change the experience. So I guess it's up to us to just slow down and take a deep
Mm,
breath, just find our ways inside of it, inside of
mm.
ourselves, because it's the same nature, right?
Yes. So tell if you feel like, would you tell us a little bit about Romania? I have some workshops coming up in Romania and some really amazing places, and people don't even know they exist. They just know about Count Dracula, and but like there's so much more. Like I don't know, and Romania is near, and I was like there once, and it's beautiful and amazing. But like there's so much wealth and wisdom and ancient stuff that nobody knows. So please do share something with us.
Yeah, I'll be more than honored to share it with you, to invite you and to call you. So this is quite interesting because this is not a new project. It's an older project of mine that in the past few months it completely haunted me. It was just like,
Mm.
I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm again here. Like
Mm,
it's just like, oh my God. Until I was just like, okay, ancestors, I got it. I'm just going to
mm,
do this. So just give me a bit of space. I'm trying my best. So now
mm,
I'm expanding the invitation of the ancestors, basically, because they are the ones behind it. So,
mm,
as you mentioned, we do have more than just Count Dracula and, like Haji and Nadia Comaneci, which are really nice, as a way to introduce Romania. But we also have really powerful, energetic places in the country. They are like many of them, but there are three most important ones. And one of them, again, this is subjective. This is from my own experience and exploration of being there and feeling into it.
mm,
So one of them is this place, which we call it in Romania, Luana's land,
mm,
the land of Luana, which is basically in the heart of Romania. Like if you measure it to the
mm,
sides, that would be close to the very center of it. Luckily, it's still in a rural area, which is not so easy accessible,
mm,
which I don't really find it a bad thing, to be fully honest,
mm,
because over the years it kept certain things
mhm,
intact, right? So the legend talks about this being from the stars called Luana that fall in love with the humans. And she went against her own kin's recommendation of not being in contact with the humans, right? And she falls in love with the humans. Now, her brothers find about that, so they start a war in the sky, right?
mm,
And Luana, wanting to save the earth and the people, comes to the earth and starts to teach them, including, so the legend talks about teaching them how to melt the stones. Now,
mm,
what's quite interesting, Samo, and maybe we can attach, I can attach some pictures to the
mhm.
video that we
Sure.
just did. When you go there in these mountains, like the mountains, they just look like cut.
Mm,
They look like old fortresses, walls of defense. And if you go deeper, um, the stone really looks like melted, like they have
mm,
churches inside of the stones, like in ways that it's hard to describe into words if you don't experience it directly, like So basically they carved inside of the mountains, and you have the door and you have the window and you have a table, an altar, and you have, like everything is inside of the stone. That's one side of it. Plus, it's also known as the Romanian Athos. Like Athos is the sacred
Mm.
mountain, one of the sacred mountains in Greece, right?
Mhm.
So there are lots, or there used to be lots of monks that went in solitude in these areas in order to be deeply, more deeply connected to the divine, right? So it's a very, very interesting place, really, really powerful energetically. There are lots of legends, like we can go into it, but not in all of them, because I want to keep some surprises for the people that will join us
Of course.
physically. Like, for example, it's a very interesting area. This is what I can say. There are recordings of people going for a walk in these areas and ending up at the west border of Romania.
Wow.
Exactly. So it's quite interesting. There are a couple of tunnels there which are, not recommended to be explored. And there are all kinds of legends around it. Plus, in the same area, during the communism time, they found skeletons of giants.
Mm.
So, what's legend? What's true? What really happened? Well, one can just explore the mystery and see what it reveals. Because this area in particular is so powerful. Like yeah, in ways
Mm.
that someone just needs to go in and actually feel it, not far away from this place. And it's also part of the upcoming retreat there. We are going to visit what we call trovant.
Mhm.
So these are the growing stones. They are the stones that they grow with, I don't know, they measure them. I think it's under a centimeter per year or under three
Mhm.
centimeters per year, something like that. And the legends talk about these stone beings actually collecting the negativity from the world, from the people, bubbling it up and store it, right?
Mm.
And the funny part is they do have some materials inside of them. So when it rains, they do bubble.
Mm.
So again, this upcoming retreat, which is called Mystical Romania. It's at the border between legend and reality. Again, what's legend and what's real? What's real? Because it depends on our perspective, right?
Yeah. So interesting. It's so interesting. Now I want to know all about it. It's kind of interesting because just today I was watching a documentary on Iceland and it was kind of similar. Like, this is my experience, but it was from a while ago. But people living there like 20, 50 years ago, for them, the mystical was completely normal. They didn't even see that the invisible world was there. It wasn't a question of anything because they were open to it. And there's like some Sufi stories which are similar to what you're saying about the mountains and giants. And people from who spoke about this, they're like really intelligent, genius, educated people. They're not some loonies, and they're like, this is
Mhm.
our history. This is
Yeah.
how it was. They're not saying it's myth, and people can make their own choices, but they're like, there's a lots of traditions of people like, this is real history. This is not just mumbo jumbo. And that's interesting if you're open to it, how the mystery can reveal itself. So it's so fun to see it in different areas, completely different areas of the world, almost the same stories. Like, what are the odds?
Yeah, yeah. Like, and if you look at Luana stories, like you can look back. What was the name? It's an ancient story that talks about these beings from the stars falling in love with the daughters of the earth. And
Yeah.
it's just
The
like
Watchers. Yeah.
it's the same story expressed in different languages, in different forms for us to understand something. I think it's the way in which the universe talks with us, right? In synchronicity, and like pointing, hey, look here, look here,
Mm,
look here, you know,
yeah.
like,
You know what I really like about this ancient myths, and they're different, but some of them are like there's no clear-cut good or bad people. It's like we're all learning. There's not like black and white. It's just like this happens and then this happens, and we're all kind of learning. And our Western mind wants to like, what's the right thing? But that's not how reality functions. It's, it's more hues of gray or colors of the rainbow. And I think that's
mm-hmm,
what's underneath. It's of course in everyday life you need some rules and stuff, but the reality is much more multifaceted, and that's I'm like looking into exploring.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Okay, so anything else about Romania or Greece or anything you would like to share? Like, there's so many stuff, but like anything you
Yeah.
feel would be useful or helpful for people to hear right now. Like this, we can say this is great and interesting, but how is that practically useful? How does it help for someone who's like came across this
Mm-hmm,
video and is like, this is all nice, but how does this benefit my life? Like, I love it, but like, what would you say
mm-hmm.
to someone who just looking at this and is like, this is fun, but how's that gonna help me live my life?
That's a very good point. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm just going to give my example now, and maybe I can give some examples from the past initiating journeys in these sacred sites. Um, as we started this conversation, these places, they are pulsing with energy and with ceremonies, right? Now, depending where you are, if we take Delphi, for example, Delphi was chosen as the center of the earth, right?
Mhm.
Navel of the earth. And the legend talks about Zeus releasing his eagles, and where the two eagles met, that's where the stone that he released fall down to mark the center of the earth, the navel of the earth, right? But it's also the place where three tectonic plates used to meet, and for the oracles to give these predictions. For me personally, when I go in this place in Delphi, things become very clear. It's like all that channel of light that every single one of us have, all, to simplify it, our connection, our individual connection that we have with the great creator becomes crystal clear and anchored. This is my experience.
Mhm.
Sorry,
Bless you. It's true.
thank you. Uh, yes, it is. So for me, and it happened to me that, except the fact that I'm crystal clear, I can dive deeper into my own connection. And once I get out of there, it stays in my field because I'm exposed to it. We are all energy, it's just energy around us,
Mhm.
right? So in Delphi, they have all these incredible quotes that the oracles used to give. Like one of them is nothing in excess.
Mhm.
Another one is know thyself, which was the name
Mhm.
of the past retreat, right? And there are more of them, right? When I left, I give you an example because it's easier
Mhm.
to show, to make a point, to have the proof to the to
Mhm.
the to the point. I think last time I was there, or the four last time, I was there with a friend of mine, and we left from Delphi. We came back to Athens, and we were sitting in this crowded market, Agora, which is the name of market in
Mhm.
Greece. We were just sitting there, and people were going up and down because it was like they had like a festival, and
Mhm.
there were all kinds of things. And we were just sitting there, sipping a coffee. And on the other side, there was this huge tavern, this huge restaurant where they served lots of food. So we
Mhm.
could continuously see waiters coming out with lots of food on the terrace, again and again and again. And at a certain moment, I was just like, I look at my friend and I was just like, oh my God, like this is so much? Like, do we actually need so much food or so much stuff or so much, physical possessions? Or
Mm.
and my friend starts laughing because I didn't realize it, but it was bothering me. It's just like, oh my God, this is so, like so much. And she's like, don't you realize what you're doing? And I'm just like, what do you mean? And she smiles and she's like, nothing in excess, remember?
Mm.
Those were the, I
Mm.
wouldn't say rules, but they were like,
Mm.
things given from the gods through the oracle
Mm.
to the rest of the people, right?
Mm.
So, and I don't know Greek yet. I don't speak Greek that good. I know a few
Mm.
words. But I was there for a few days in this energy, and it felt like I was carrying with me wherever imprint or vibration of this sacred side had in my field, in my aura,
Mm.
in my structures. And
Mm.
already started functioning through me without my mind catching up, because this was not
Mm.
a mental study of what did the Greek gods did in,
Yeah.
in Delphi, and what's the classification, or which is interesting information, right?
Mm.
This was just like happening through already. So I guess this is really, really important to have in mind, not only with sacred sites, but where do we spend our time? In what environments? With what kind of people? Right? Not to blame or shame anyone, because we all go through our own unique journeys, but to have in mind, where do we invest this energy, and what does it stay with us? What do we carry forward in the world with us?
Wow, that's amazing. And what I really love about this is those teachings are so clear, short, and succinct, but so many layers. So it's not like the whole 16 commandments and 306 rules, which is totally fine, but like it's just one
Mhm.
thing, but it's not mental. It's like it applies to every single person in a different way. And that's like a sign or a scent of a real deep authentic teaching. It's simple, it's clear, and it affects you in the
Mhm.
way someone else will get a different thing, but it works for everybody. So it's universal, but it's also particular at the same time, and that's like super amazing. That's maybe would be very useful nowadays for all this debates and knowledge and mental arguments, because this goes beyond polarity. This is not saying don't have things or should have things. It's not even about that. It's like the middle way, like nothing in it's just right. It
Mhm.
could be different for different people. Somebody needs nothing and somebody needs a mansion. It's totally fine. And it goes beyond the debates and the mental stuff. So for me, that's what's like, wow, that's what's so precious about it, because especially in the day we live in, this is wow.
Yeah, and imagine just being there, immersed in this
Mhm.
energy, and then walking on the street as a different version of yourself, because that's what's happening. All these sacred places, they have such a high vibration. They hold all these ceremonies for thousands of years, right? God knows for how long.
Mm.
And then we walk away carrying a part of it with us, right? So it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. And in the case of the ladies that have joined me so far, and by the way, this upcoming retreat is for men as well. So if you want to join, you're welcome. I'm just putting that out there.
Cool.
Um, what I found it very interesting is that because of the location, which is pulsing already with energy, the healing processes, they just pop up. They just come wherever is not
Mhm.
compatible with that level of direct divine connection. It's going to just, come to the surface. And the healing processes, they happen way quicker, or, the container or the alchemy is more profound in that manner.
Yes, so you probably already answered this question, but so where is it and when is it? And if people are interested, like how can they apply or like this thing? what you're doing, the next thing.
The next thing is going to be in Romania. It's called
Mhm.
Mystical Romania from the 12th of May to the 16th. So we start on a Monday and we go until the weekend. We have also transport from the airport this time because it's in the depths of Romania, in the villages. So as a location is Buzău Mountains.
Mm.
That will be our headquarters, and we are just going to stay in glamping. It's like
Mm.
camping, but with a bit of glamour.
Mm.
Yeah. So if you are not familiar with the glamping, they do have tents. So there are tents. We are going to stay in the tents, but with beds, and there is a restaurant. There are like three restaurants in like 40 minutes area. That's the things that we have available. So if someone needs something in particular, it's better to have them with them. Plus, I need to mention this because of the location and because of where these places are situated, we cannot drive directly to the location. So that means we are going to be outside a lot. So I definitely recommend this for someone that has an okay physical condition, because it will take us like some days maybe 4 to 6 hours of being outside, and you know from
Mhm.
one side to another, visiting and having ceremonies outside. And so physical condition for this particular retreat it's a must, because otherwise we cannot reach them.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. It's a beautiful invitation, and I have nothing left to say. Do you have anything else you want to share? Because the energy is so like beautiful. I just want to stay in it and say nothing. So, is there anything else you want to say to finish up or to add or whatever?
I don't know exactly what to say. I mean, come and join us. If you feel called, you're welcome to join us. Send me a message. Most probably we will leave a link below the recording so you can see the details. If you have any questions, or feel free to ask me or Samo as well. Yeah, and you're welcome to join us
I
this
think that's a
May,
beautiful.
Romania. If you want to come to Greece, I'll go back there in autumn for the autumn equinox. So just answer your calling wherever that would be.
Thank you. That was beautiful. I like that. Just answer your calling. This is life calling you. So if this is calling you, come and join us. Thank you so much, Andrea. This was amazing. It just became a meditation. So I invite people to just plug into the energy and see where they're drawn. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you more, Samo. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for the work that you are offering as well in the world. And thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's more needed than ever. It's kind of cliche, but it's not. So, like, so funny. I really like the fact that you have to walk to places and you can drive there. So there is some places in the world where the civilization, not to judge it, but hasn't come yet. And that's like really precious. So, like, it's really precious that things like that still exist. So I would totally recommend that, just feeling the energy of it. So thanks for creating that. And what else is possible?
Wasn't me. The
Okay, Andrea,
ancestors
we
are
will
calling.
we will talk more in future about 16 million other stuff. This was a pleasure and have a beautiful time. Bye bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I need to stop recording now.